reproductions, and cell cycle. So, your cells, every single one of your cells, because one day, when your dad's sperm and your mom's egg, and not trying to make it awkward, but whenever they met, they formed you, and you were literally one cell for a few hours. One cell. You went from being one cell to 100 trillion cells. And that's because the cell went through a process called mitosis, so where it replicated. Okay? And in biology, you have to learn this entire process in all its detail. In anatomy, we're going to cover it in like 3 slides, and it's going to be quick, fast, and to the point. When your cell is growing, just hanging out, your genetic material looks like this. Excuse me. Looks like chromatin. You are in interphase. This is a cell just being cell. When the cell is going through mitosis, or dividing, your genetic material looks like this. And it's so to make sure that when your new cell is formed, that it has exactly everything it needs. When you're all disorganized like this, it makes it very difficult for everything to be divided evenly. So that's why your genetic material condenses into chromosomes. Interphase, your cell is growing, just hanging out. Mitosis, your cell is physically dividing. The reason why your cells have to divide. You were one cell. If that one cell just continued to get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, you wouldn't have any shape or form to you. Does that make sense? The reason why you are so specific is because our cells said, okay, you're too big, now divide. And that's literally what happens to you right now. Your cell will grow, and it will send a signal that says, I'm too big. And then it will divide. And then it will grow, and it will divide. Is it more efficient to feed a small child or a large child? Yeah, if you have teenagers, teenage boys, you have no food in your house ever. I go to a grocery store, and they bring their friends over, and I'm like, what? And then we thought we were doing good going to Costco. That was stupid. That was a huge mistake, because as soon as all the friends figured out that our house is where the food was, now I put it in the closet, and I'm like, don't tell your friends that there's food in here. But y'all eat a lot. So the reason why cells need to stay small is because it's easier to feed something that's small. It's more efficient. We can get more energy out of something that's small than something that's large. This is showing you, you spend the majority, your cells and you spend the majority of your life cycle growing. You only spend a short time reproducing. When the cell divides, we call that cellular reproduction. So if this was in biology, I would go into this long, drawn-out explanation as to what's happening in each one, and I'm not. This is you growing. Kindergarten, high school, college, you're having a kid. And then you start all over again. Not you, but the kid, the new cells do. Okay? Because now you're done. Kindergarten, high school, college, reproduce. Cell cycle. You spend the majority of your time growing. So right here, your DNA looks like this. And right here, it looks like that. Okay? Chromatin versus chromosomes. Mitosis happens in only somatic cells. Mitosis only happens in somatic cells. Somatic cells are every cell in your body except for sperm and egg. Somatic cells are every cell in your body except for sperm and egg. Somatic cells are every cell in your body except for sperm and egg. All those cells go through mitosis. So if I say kidney, that's somatic. Skin, it's somatic. Blood cells, somatic. If I say sperm or egg, those are what we call our gametes. Sperm or egg, they don't go through mitosis. They go through meiosis. Let me tell you the difference. If I have a skin cell and I make a new skin cell, what do I want that skin cell to look like? The same skin cell. Mitosis makes clones. So if I have a kidney cell and I make a new kidney cell, I want it to be the same. So mitosis makes clones. Unless you're an identical twin, you and all of your siblings, bless you, or all of your kids, if you have kids, do they look the same? could have similar characteristics, but are they the same? The answer is no. That's because in a male's life, he will never make 2 sperm that are the same. Ever. And in a woman's life, she has never made 2 eggs that are the same. Ever. Meiosis only occurs in sperm and eggs, and it intentionally makes them all different. This literally goes back to survival of the fittest. It makes us all different. Because if we were all the same, and I got cancer, what would that mean for you? We would wipe out our entire population. Every cell in your body makes clones, except for sperm and egg. And they do not make clones. They make genetically different sperm or genetically different eggs, which makes each of you genetically different. The only reason it doesn't apply to identical twins is because identical twins were once one baby that accidentally split. Okay? But early on, not when it looked like a baby. All right? Like early on. And then that's because they literally were the same person for a little while, and then they split apart. Okay, so meiosis is sperm and eggs. Mitosis is for somatic cells, everything that is not sperm and egg. Questions on the difference between those two? You're constantly going through mitosis your entire life. You're constantly going through mitosis your entire life. Right now, you're going through it right now. Okay? Meiosis. Females made every single egg that they're ever going to have before they were even born. By the day the woman is born, an infant child, she has all of the eggs she will ever produce in her ovaries done. Male do not begin to produce sperm until they hit puberty, and they do not stop producing sperm until they expire. Okay? So the difference in where gamete production occurs. Women make all of their eggs before they're even born. This goes through the steps of mitosis. Prophase, metaphase, anaphase, telophase, and cytokinesis. You should have heard those in biology. Some of you are fresh out of biology. Some of you have no memory of biology. But that's a good thing because I don't test you over this. Thank goodness. All right, so here is mitosis, where the cell's actually dividing. Prophase, metaphase, anaphase, telophase, and then cytokinesis. They correspond with the words on the previous slide. Remember, this is where the cell is growing. This is where the cell is dividing.
Yeah, question.
Proceed.
It's kind of
Go ahead.
off the beaten path, but if women only have a certain amount of eggs,
Yes, sir.
and you made a baby every egg,
Yeah.
would that extend, I would assume that would extend your, what's
Here you go.
the cycle that you
Yes, ovulation.
Or, well, not,
Well, the menstrual cycle is, so good question. And we will spend AMP2 a whole bunch of time on this, but real quick, fast, and in a hurry, because everybody always asks this question. Women make around 500,000 eggs before they're born. About 250 per ovary. When they hit puberty, over half of them have disintegrated because they ran out of food. So by the time she hits puberty, she's down to 250,000, 125,000 each egg, or each ovary. When she hits puberty, she will ovulate from one ovary 1 month. The next month, it will be from the other ovary, and they alternate. Usually. There are situations where she releases from both, and there are situations where she doesn't release at all. Okay? But all of that is controlled by hormones. But because if you did the math mathematically, so let's say she hit puberty at the age of 14 and started menstruating, and she would ovulate 1 egg per month for the next 20 years. Okay? Let's say that. So there's 12 months in a year times 20. What's 12 times 20? 240 eggs. Right. So 240 eggs is all she ovulated, because by the time she ovulated that last egg, all the others had run out of food and disintegrated. So that's exactly what happens. And whenever a woman goes through menopause, it's because there are no other eggs for her to ovulate. And so she can no longer become pregnant. Her body receives that message.
that was more or less what I was trying to, menopause,
Pause.
did that push menopause back?
It does not. So the longevity of your eggs is strictly on how much cytoplasm they have. The more cytoplasm they have, the longer they can survive. And since she made them before birth, they have a real long life. We notice that as women age, the longer that they wait to have kids, there's an increased likelihood that it will mutate. And then you have children who have special needs or disabilities as a result of older pregnancies. So that's why they're high risk initially. Great question. We do spend a ton of time on that in AMP2. Okay? Protein synthesis, what am I making? Proteins. Yes. This entire cycle, I'm supposed to go through and say, this is what we do with this, this, and this. This is what happens. Your DNA, which is deoxyribonucleic acid, we know what it looks like, and I mentioned that the other day. Everybody always knows what it looks like, and they're like, oh yeah, that's DNA. But what is it used for? It makes proteins. Okay? Your DNA is made of small segments called genes. So say that this, let me just draw you a DNA so you can picture it real quick. Say that this is your DNA. Right here, let's say this is your I gene. And right here, let's say that this is your heart gene. Okay? And this is just a short picture of it, but every single gene you have is in every single cell in your body. So if I want to know something about your bones, I don't have to go to your bones. I can pull your skin and have a computer read it, and it can give me the information on your bones. So here's my first question before I go into what this means as far as protein synthesis is concerned. If every cell in my body has the exact same DNA, why does my skin look like skin, but my bones look like bones, my eyes look like eyes, and my hair look like hair, if they all have the same exact information?
It's only using the information.
Shape determines function. It's only using certain information. This is more closely what I'm looking for. Anybody have any other comments on that? Even though I have all the genes in every single cell in my body, if this is my eye, my heart gene is turned off. It's there. It's just told to turn off. Your genes have two options. They can either be on or off. That's it. If they're on, they're making proteins. A gene, one gene makes that protein. So the I gene makes proteins for the eye. Period. The heart gene makes proteins for the heart. Do I have my eye genetic material in my heart? Yes. Do I have my liver genetic material in my heart? Yes. You have all your genetic material in every cell. That's why whenever they do those buccal swabs or buccal swabs, they can get all the information they need for your entire body from one skin cell. Your genes are in every single one of your cells, but they're turned off if they're not being used. In my eyes, my eye gene is turned on, so I'm making eye protein. And you know that because it's in my eye. Right here I'm making skin protein. So, every bit of DNA is in every single cell, and your genes are just off if they're not in that right area. What I need to get to here is in that DNA, we will isolate, when it's time to make a protein, we will isolate the gene we need. So let's say, for example, I was up here teaching and I talk with my hands all the time. Obviously, you've already seen that. And I poked myself in the eye with an expo marker and it started bleeding. So immediately, my body sends a signal and says, hey, Jessica's hurt. She needs eye proteins. My cells in my eye will go to the DNA and it will find just my eye gene. The DNA has the instructions to make my proteins, but do you remember what part of my cell makes proteins? Mitochondria has genetic material. What? The ribosomes. The ribosomes make the proteins. The DNA cannot physically get to the ribosome because your DNA is 6.5 feet long. And every single cell in your body. So, we find just the I gene and we make a copy of it. Just the I gene. And then we send that copy out to the ribosome, and the ribosome uses that copy, which is called messenger RNA, to make a protein. So we take the DNA, we find just the gene we need, we make a copy of it, and that's what we call messenger RNA. That RNA travels out, attaches itself to a ribosome, and that ribosome uses that RNA to make a protein. When you transcribe something, what does that mean to transcribe? To write it down or to copy it. We call this process right here where we're copying it, we call that transcription, because we're transcribing it. So transcription takes DNA and turns it into RNA. Translation takes the RNA and translates it into a protein. Transcription takes DNA and turns it into RNA. Translation takes that RNA and turns it into a protein. Translates it into a protein. In these PowerPoints, I embedded slides that actually show the process taking place. And you can for sure play those if you want to. And we're not playing them right now. But transcription, DNA becomes messenger RNA. Translation, messenger RNA becomes a polypeptide. Poly means many, and peptide is the bond found in proteins. So if there's many protein bonds, we know we have a protein. So polypeptide is the academic word for protein. Okay? That's the academic word for protein. And you are not responsible for knowing all of this in a summer course. Okay? What I've explained to you, you need to know, like transcription versus translation, but all of the promoter and all of that stuff, you do not need to know that, or the transcription factors, or any of that. Here are the videos, okay? And then this is the overall summary of it. Here's the picture that I use. You have your DNA. We isolate the gene that we need. We transcribe it. To transcribe means to copy. That DNA is copied into messenger RNA. That messenger RNA can leave the nucleus because it's smaller. It attaches itself to a ribosome where it is translated and made into a protein. Is this shape right here random? No, because the only thing random in life is mutations. Fact. Developmental aspects of cells. I've actually already covered this when I talked about why you can have all the DNA in every single cell, but your cells don't look the same. And that's because of what we call gene expression. Certain genes are turned on, certain genes are turned off. I got DNA from my mom and dad. My dad has brown eyes, my mom has blue eyes. Do I carry the genetic material for brown eyes? Yes, it is clearly turned off. And you can see that. Okay? Same with you. You carry genetic material for both parents, but there may be a characteristic in you that is more like one. It doesn't mean you're not carrying the other parent. It just means that it's been turned off. Okay? And that is literally decided when sperm and egg meet. The hours after, it takes 3 hours to determine what you look like. 3 hours. And then look at you. You're gorgeous. Okay? The term here, cell differentiation, that means that every cell can have the exact same DNA, but look different. Okay? That means that every cell can have the exact same DNA, but look different. And that is truly because of gene expression. Cell differentiation is because of gene expression. Apoptosis. The term apoptosis is programmed cell death. This is crazy, but you want your cells to die. You do. Because what happens when a cell gets old? It stops working the way you want it to. It becomes less efficient. So it's time for it to move on and for you to make a new one. We want our cells to die. We want them to be replaced with new healthy cells, and they keep us running well. In the event that your cells don't die, they form a tumor. And what do we call that tumor? Cancer. So when you have tumors, it's because the cells that were supposed to die didn't die. They stayed there. So instead of being replaced, they just added on. And they created a mass of cells, which we call a tumor. Apoptosis is programmed cell death. We want our cells to die. Cancer is uncontrolled mitosis, which means the cells that were supposed to die didn't. Cancer is uncontrolled mitosis. You want your cells to die. As soon as they're dead, your body will filter them out in your kidneys and you'll pee them out. You'll never even know. It's a good thing. It maintains homeostasis. Okay? And this is hyperplasia. Does anybody know what hyper means? Increase, okay? Or excited, like, not hyper, like jumping off. But where it's an increase. So hyperplasia means that the cells will increase in size, or increase in number, not size. We want them to stay small. Increase in number. Atrophy means that they will decrease in number. Let me give you an example. If you're a female and you become pregnant, right now your uterus is this size. It's actually a little bit smaller than this. But by the time you finish your pregnancy and deliver the baby, your uterus has grown to about this size. That's hyperplasia. It had to grow to accommodate that child. But after you deliver the baby, your uterus doesn't need to be that big anymore. So guess what it will do? It will begin to shrink. You'll send signals that say, I don't need this anymore, and because you aren't using it, you will lose it. Does it go away really fast? No. No. It takes you 9 or 10 months to get a uterus that big. It takes about 18 months for it to get small again. Fact, you never knew. We'll talk more about that in the MP2. Atrophy also discusses what happens when you break a limb or something and you put it in a cast and don't use it for an extended time. Because you don't use it, what does your body say? You don't need it. If you know somebody who's broken a lower limb and at one point had well-defined casts, after they broke a limb, you look at them walk in front of you and you're like, because the healthy one looks nice. The broken one looks like a stick. Because the muscle literally deteriorates because you don't use it. Okay? People who are paraplegics, so they're paralyzed, what happens to the muscle in their legs? It's done. It goes away. They don't use it, they lose it. That's why they don't have large muscle mass there. Your body does that with everything. If you're not using it, it's gone. Okay? Theories about cell aging. How do we keep you alive or make you look young? Remember when I drew this right here? Your genetic material? Every single time your cell divides, a part of your genetic material is erased. The part that's erased is called a telomere. Okay? The part that's erased is called a telomere. And so the next time it divides, it will erase a little bit more. And it will continue to do that until it hits a trigger. And then that trigger says this cell is too old and it will destroy it. It says you've gotten old, let's get rid of you because we need to replace you. You want that to happen. You want your cells to get old so that they'll die off. But in our society now we're obsessed with remaining young. So you use these anti-aging serums and creams and diets and whatever else there is. They contain telomerase. Can you tell me anything about telomerase?
Enzyme.
How do you know it's an enzyme? A-S-E. Telomerase specifically works on telomeres. And literally what it does is it adds to them. So it increases the life of that cell, thus increasing the length of your youthfulness. Anti-aging. Yeah? So telomeres. Oh, good. But we still have to do chapter 4.